motion. Second?
Second.
Bill makes a second. All in favor? Aye. All right. 4-0-1. So what we usually like to do in the traffic board meetings is if we have any folks from the public who want to address the board, we allow them to go first and get them out of the way, and then we can move to the other parts where there's not a public comment. I think the folks living on Matthews Street, if you want to either come up to the table or you can do it from there, however you want to do to address the traffic board.
My name is Fran McManus. I live at 136 Schubert Street, which is right at the end of Matthews, coming from Highland Avenue. The problem we're having is, this is Bob Andreyko. Bob lives actually right at the crest of the hill that we're talking about. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Matthews Street, but going from Schubert towards Harrison, there's a very steep hill, very dangerous, not only just in the wintertime with the top of the street parking, but really all year round. The problem we're having right now is with the alternate street parking not being followed. I've been up, what set me off is 2 weeks ago. I was bringing my wife home from work, and I'm coming up the hill. I'm going very slow. Cars coming the other way, flying. And thank God it was, I'm not kidding, 2 seconds I could have been killed. But because you couldn't get through. And when the alternate street parking is not being recognized, then it's just impossible for two vehicles to get through. We also have now a problem where 3 apartment buildings have got, what, up to 10, 12 students?
From 150 to 156 Matthews Street are 2 families, but there's a couple of kids that are living there. There's 5 or 6 in each home. And you're probably talking about an extra, 12 cars that are parked on the street. And it really makes, as Fran was saying, I live right at the top of the hill at 141 Matthews Street, and it makes the street very dangerous and very narrow. The parking situation, obviously, for other people that live there, is getting very tight with all the college kids, and it just makes the situation, and it's been increasing over the years. I mean, I've lived there about 40 years now, and it's just gotten worse over the years. The amount of traffic that's coming up and down the street. There's no way that should be parking on both sides from Harrison, I'd say, down to where Fran lives on Schubert. Something has to be done before somebody really gets hurt.
That's what we're actually trying to figure out, if we can get one side of the street, no parking all year round. Because it's dangerous in July, it really is. So like Bob said, from Schubert Street to Harrison.
If you do one side, alternate street parking still is in effect, right, in the winter? So I went over and looked at it, Fran, after I spoke to you, and I think Dave and Bill did as well. And we're kind of thinking at this point, it's an enforcement issue. That's kind of our issue. So what I would suggest initially is we'll look at it and we'll enforce it. We'll have people over there, we'll give them the tickets and make sure they're on the right side. Hopefully within a short period of time they'll start complying. I think that if it gets to be a problem after we get the enforcement part in effect, then maybe it could be talked about one side, but we don't normally do that because the same issue is going to exist during the winter for the alternate street parking, because they're going to park on both sides because the students don't pay attention. But the more tickets they get, and if we get over there and enforce it.
I don't think it's really all the students either. I think it's just.
Yeah, well, whoever is violating the codes. But I mean, we'll put things out to all reliefs, and we'll and if you have cars over there, like, nobody from your neighborhood has ever called. I mean, you guys don't complain, and
I called. Well, the first time I called was 2 weeks ago when I almost got killed. So.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're out there, Bob, and you see a car like at 6, 7 o'clock, I get it. But
we've done that numerous times.
Yeah.
Okay. And I talked to a councilman about it back a couple months ago. There was a gentleman In fact, he lives next door to me, has a used car lot. He was running it out of the house. And there was constantly cars parked out on the street. I've seen some of the officers come over and look at them. There's no registration on the car, no stickers, no plates, no nothing. They found out where it was, they'd go and knock on the door, have them move the cars. I mean, it is just a constant issue, and it's just been getting bigger and bigger. With the, I mean, we've been fortunate, not a lot of snow, but, you know, it's just been a constant issue, and we keep fighting it and fighting it.
But even in the summertime though, if you've got cars parked on both sides of the street at the crest of that hill, it's very dangerous, really.
One of the things that cars parked on the streets do is it reduces the speed of traffic. And I think if we were to, at any street in the city, kind of only have, you know, one lane completely open, that would increase the flow of traffic, and people would be driving faster up the crest of Matthews. That's what I would imagine would happen. But I think that what the chief said is a good idea, in that in the next 30 days, we're going to have an enhanced enforcement on that street and in that stretch specifically for all release, sort of 24/7. And then we'll revisit this at the next traffic board meeting, see how many tickets were issued, see what the problems are of the repeat offenders. And then after that enhanced enforcement, we see if there's some other things we need to do, or that kind of took care of it. But that's what we'll do as of right now, and it doesn't prohibit us from taking a closer look at it in the future.
I do have just one more small thing.
Sure.
Right in front of my house is a stop sign on the corner of Schubert and Matthews. I say
Okay.
out of 10 cars, 2 stop, 4 roll through, and 4 don't even stop. They don't even know it's there. If there could be something prior to that stop sign saying stop ahead, whether it be in the street or a sign, something.
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
Is it a regular size stop sign or oversized?
No, it's a regular size.
Would you have to put an oversized stop sign at that intersection?
Was it Schubert and
Schubert and Matthews. Now, there's 2 Schubert and Matthews because of the way it goes, but it's, I'm at 136 in the
You're
street.
talking westbound.
My car from eastbound.
Towards Dan's house.
We're talking eastbound.
Eastbound. On Schubert.
The Schubert is the issue, not so much coming down Matthews. I mean,
Is
coming
it a
down
two-way or
Matthews,
four-way?
You know you gotta stop.
It's only,
It's a two-way.
Okay.
It's a two-way stop.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll have to put in
It would-
stop signs oversized.
there's actually 3 stop signs between Schubert.
It's actually,
Matthews.
it's actually a weird layout. We visited that before and looked at that.
It's kind of a little jog.
Yeah. It's 3 different.
Usually the bigger signs help. We'll see what happens.
Sounds good.
So like I said, you know, we'll be in touch and certainly continue to contact BPD if you have any of these issues, or,
Stay in touch, Randy. Some
Will do.
people.
Okay.
all right?
Yeah, thank you for your
Thank you so
time.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll just add that just as an agenda item for next month's
Thanks,
meeting.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Let me know if you need help, you know, contact me.
Okay.
Okay, we have the lots, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So, Tim, why don't you give us a run-through of the application, the zoning board planning, just so all the traffic members are up to date. This is a situation where the zoning board of appeals approved a proposal, development proposal, but it required further review by the traffic board. So Tim, if you can just bring us up to
Yeah,
speed.
so this proposal, the left called me a couple months ago. They asked about doing this, and they sent me the sketch plans, which I think you probably received.
Yep, got it.
And then I just let them know that they exceeded the maximum lot coverage. So the zoning board of appeals only, legally, could really only look at the lot coverage variance. They weren't looking at the fact that it's a new curb cut and that there would be 2 new parking spaces in front of the house. It did come up, and the ZBA was concerned. The proposed curb cut is pretty close to a fire hydrant and close to other curb cuts. But yeah, overall, the zoning board acknowledged that this is really your call, and they couldn't really say anything on that.
And, Mr. and Mrs. Lott, if you want to walk us through kind of just how this came to be, what you're looking to see done, the necessity for that parking in the front part of your yard.
Okay, this is, his mother died before getting the house, which is going to move here. The left side is quite a steep driveway. You can fit like one car down it. You can't turn around on the driveway or anything if you have more than one car, which he does. There's all the bushes on one side. There's a wall with a metal fence and a low concrete wall on the right side. And it's quite daunting for me to try to think of backing down or up, or, I mean, the number of people I would hit with my car, it just would not be good for me. It would not be good for me. I've seen so many people hit the wall, hit the bushes with their cars, scratch them up. And, I mean, it's fine for him, the car guy, but not good for me. And I want to be safe, so I just want to put it right in front of the house. I could just back into it and pull out of it. It'd be so simple, so easy. It just, I think, will save a lot of trouble. And the curb cut, I think it's, what does it have to be, 12 feet away from the fire hydrant or something like that, where the parking is, and I believe it's a little more than 12 feet away. So I think maybe that's okay.
Would you anticipate having, you know, because you've got a curb cut for your current driveway, would you anticipate wanting to just, they wouldn't be able to just take the curb cut all the way across, it would be a separate 15-foot section for the proposed?
I want a separate section. No, I wouldn't want to, I thought originally having the new driveway nearer to the other one, but it would make no sense. You would never be able to see traffic coming because there's the wall there. It goes up at, you know, quite an angle. So that is not a good choice. That's why I put it all the way the other side, because I want to be able to see.
Yeah.
I don't want to hit anybody with my car.
What about on-street parking in that area?
On-street parking is quite a busy spot right there. That street is quite busy, and of course then you have alternate street parking, you have to keep moving it, but I mean, I guess on-street parking is good if you don't mind your car getting hit. Things like that is okay, but if I could choose not to do that, that would be better for me.
Other members of the traffic board have any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, Main Street. Yes, we looked at this previous and we denied it based on the fact of the, you know, first of all, the two driveways were one dwelling, and again, the question about the hydrant, you know, being the nearness of the hydrant. We just thought it was a safety issue itself. We'd have to go back and revisit our notes and stuff. We're not prepared to really respond, I don't think, at this time to this, but that's what we found last time. And I think that we'd have to go back and revisit what our previous notes said.
Yeah, the concerns that I have are the kind of the two separate curb cuts. I know from a planning and zoning standpoint, you're looking at lot coverage, but we're also looking at traffic flows and whether, you know, vehicles are parked on sidewalks. I know there's an 18-foot distance depth, but I'm sure, you know, either in larger vehicles or if there's snow, the concern would be, are the vehicles now being, you know, parked on the sidewalk, because there's not really that much space between the house and the tree lawn.
And that's why I took the 18 feet. I measured the longest vehicle, the station wagon, and I thought they would be more than that.
The other question I have is, the previous one was your relative? His father? Okay.
Yes.
What problems did they have with the existing housing as it was? What was their problems with it?
You mean with the parking situation?
The parking situation.
Well, the problem is the driveway is extremely narrow. I've scraped my car too. My father scraped his car. It's just the way that the house was built so many years ago with an extremely narrow driveway. And that's why we wanted to, you know, to make a place in front where it would be, you know, so much safer, where you wouldn't have to worry about scraping your car. And the office there has been there. My father's been gone since '84.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically, it's probably, you know, it's going to be unoccupied basically. It just comes with the house, you know, because it was built in the '50s.
What's scraping? What are you scraping when you're pulling up and down the?
Up and down the driveway, it's very, very narrow, especially when you get up towards the house. Well, between that and the wall.
Can the driveway be widened?
I've had my daughter scraped her car. We had to have a wall repaired. She hit it 2 or 3 times just trying to get in and out the driveway.
If we took out all the bushes, we could widen it.
Yeah, I see that there's bushes on the north side of the property there. And it looks like there's a gap between the bushes and the driveway. Can
There's
either the bushes be cut back and the driveway be widened, or would that be possible? It'd probably be a lot less expensive than, you know, putting a whole new driveway and curb cut if it is approved. To me, the problem is that, you know, if we start allowing people to do multi driveways at one location, then how do we tell other people that they can't do it in their locations? And
Well, we get letters off from the neighbors too. I mean, I talked to the neighbors, they wrote letters in to the city of Binghamton, you know, that it didn't create any problem as far as they're concerned in their eyes.
Yeah, I'm not talking about your neighbors, but I'm talking about the city. How do we, you know, handle other people that want to put a multi-driveways in front of their houses? If we allow you to do it, how do we tell other people no?
So I think what we'll do on this one, because there's been some other questions that have come up based on, you know, maybe some other alternatives, or taking a look at past, when the traffic board took a look at that, I'd imagine it was with the previous owner, maybe your father.
We'd rather do this too.
I think there was something related to this, and I think it had to do with on-street parking, but I'll have to go back and look. So I think at this point, I would propose that we table this until the March meeting, allow BPD and engineering to take some closer looks, especially on the north side of the property, to see if there's some reasonable alternatives. Because as it comes to multiple curb cuts and multiple driveways for single-family homes, you know, that's something that the traffic board does not typically approve of. But I also don't want to shut the application down at this meeting. We can get some more information and continue to look at it and render a decision at the next meeting.
Okay, let me mention this maybe. In the case you absolutely wouldn't allow the curb cut or something to the right of the wall, it's already partially been cut. As you're looking to the...
What were we talking about?
Oh,
The right of the original.
To the right of the wall, yeah, my wife would rather have it
The
further
problem
over.
is I can't see if I have it there. No.
Any change to kind of the scope of the design would have to be kicked back to the zoning board, correct?
No, the lot coverage variance would still be in effect.
Okay.
Yeah, so as long as they don't exceed 53% lot coverage, they
Okay.
would be covered.
All right.
I think we have one of those, you know, steepest driveways. There's the couple next to us. We would say, well, they should have the same spot. But their whole backyards are basically a big parking lot. They don't have hardly any grass, so they can turn around wherever they want and go back down and
Yeah,
never.
this is a certainly unique design. I don't know if you see this really anywhere else in the city, but something we'll take a look at. And
I mean, maybe if I had made I just was trying to think, well, if I put it in for one car, it's got to be at least 9 feet. I thought, well, put it for 2 as long as I'm at it, but maybe I should have put it in the middle so it was farther, curb cut was farther away from the hydrant.
But the standard depth for a parking spot, I mean, I don't know if Ray or Cindy, I mean, what's the standard depth, do you know? Top of their head.
I think the minimum is 18.
Yeah.
It's usually
18 to 20, right?
right.
Yeah. So what I'm saying
10
is,
by 10 by 20 is ideal. Everybody's been using 9 by 18, but
Yeah.
you
I
can't
could
go
have
any
made
less.
it 20 years. I got more space there, but I didn't.
yeah, so that's something we can look at as well, because when it's sunny, you know, you get the full 20 feet, but if you've got any snow, there's anything in the driveway, all of a sudden the rear of that vehicle is on the sidewalk, which is something we want to avoid. So,
Okay, how about the question of, if need be, there's 4 hedges there, if you took the other hedges out that are right next to the office. See, there's 2 hedges in the front, we were planning on taking those out. How about if you remove the 2 by the office, in other words, you'd be taking 4 out, and then you pull like a concrete pad, you know, to park your car against, like a slab.
That's the same thing.
yeah, I'm not sure what
That's the
that's
same thing as what I just
referring
said.
to.
Now, when you say office, are you talking an office in the house for general public use, or talking an office for?
He means his father's old office. He means the downstairs.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Okay, I just was wondering if you were putting on a business out of the house.
No.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do. We'll table it until the next month's meeting, and we'll get some more information in the field, and we'll continue to take a look at it. So like I said, I don't want to close the door on it today necessarily, but I will say that, I at least, have some concerns about the concept, but want to take a closer look.
I mean, I'd be glad to compromise as long as I achieve being able to pull out safely. That's
Sure.
what I really-
Okay. We have your contact information, so if the officers need to be in contact, we will be. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. Okay. All right, let's get back to the agenda here. Old business, Washington Street, that's continuing to be held pending the parking garage development.
Yeah.
Signal and Tom.
If you look at the bottom 2 lines of that, it says Mr. Crane reported that Broome County took a traffic count.
Yeah,
That actually belongs in the next one.
the next one, okay. All right, I'll make a note of that.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. All right, Signal at Tompkins and Webster.
I had sent this out, I don't know if everybody had a copy of it.
Mhm.
It's a bit confusing, the copy everybody else. Sorry. We finally got the traffic counts, we looked at that, re-looked at the crash reports for out there. The recommendation that I came up with, technically, it meets traffic warrants if you consider all of the right turns coming off of Webster. And that's sort of like one of those gray areas. You can either count the right turns in the total traffic volume or not. So it's close to meeting warrants, but most of the traffic does turn right when it's coming off of Webster there. But when I looked at the crash reports, there had been a pedestrian crash there. And that was one that was on flashing operation. Remember, it used to go on flashing during the peak hour and then come off, so that happened during flashing. So I was a little concerned about taking the signal out totally because it's the only signalized intersection from Court and Tompkins and then Conklin and Tompkins. So my recommendation was to leave it. And then in future, if you wanted to either put a hawk or an RRFB there so that someone could safely get across Conklin Avenue as a pedestrian, because I think that's, when I looked at the crash reports, that was the biggest concern, pedestrians crossing there.
Okay.
So I would recommend keeping it for now until that time that you can make a change like that. Right? Is that kind of reasonable?
Okay.
It's just that people use that as a shortcut all the time, and I think everybody knows that. And so there's quite a bit of traffic that comes out of there. There's a park back there. Just to be safe. And the fact that the crash occurred when it was on flashing operation, that would be like not having a signal there. So I would leave it until you do something else.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? We'll mark that item as complete. Road study near Ben Franklin.
I don't have anything
Okay.
more on that.
Until next meeting.
Yep.
7 Grace Street.
7 Gray Street, we still haven't had any comments or requests from the person making requests as to what they're looking for, why they want the handicap zone. Mr. Scaringi was going to be, I guess, contact the person, but they never got back with us.
All right.
We did observe a couple times that there has been a car parked in the driveway there, so the driveway is used by the tenant or the occupant, but still don't know if they're handicapped or names or anything yet, so.
Okay.
I spoke to him several times on the phone. His major problem is that people from the Union Hotel are parking in front of his house. He just wants them not to park in front of his house, so he wants a handicap spot there to keep them away. And I said, well, no, that's
Not for
gonna-
his purposes.
Right, because he's got a driveway that he parks in. So I've told him several times that it's probably not going to happen.
Okay. So you have spoken to him?
Yes,
Okay.
but he hasn't made any formal request.
Okay. I would say that we can then take that off the agenda. Again, if he makes a formal request to the councilman, we can take a look at it, but we'll mark that item as complete. Basically, BBD asked them to submit a formal request. Okay. The BU bus stop on Washington, I don't have any information from the university, but I did go out and observe a lot of what was going on. And it's a lot more space that they're taking up than I originally anticipated. I know that we were talking about having some type of kind of bus pull-off area, but I think we have to lose quite a few spaces, parking spaces, on Washington in order to kind of facilitate that. And the area that I was thinking, south of Susquehanna, has the fire hydrant there too. Cindy, do you have the?
Yeah, Ian brought this over. And this is where we were talking, those first two spaces. Just,
Okay. South of Susquehanna.
The woman I had talked to before is in charge of transportation and BU.
It's handicap too.
That's a handicap spot. The first one's a handicap. She was at the Boone County Traffic Safety Board last week, and she stopped me again and brought it up. Dan was there. She's still concerned that something be done out there. That's why we brought it up again. Dan took this off of Google.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking, why can't they just go around the arena and park on Susquehanna Street right at that corner? There's nothing really there. And if
On Stewart?
No, on Susquehanna.
On Susquehanna.
Go around the block.
So they go all the way around the arena. and
Closed a
come-
bunch for
Yeah, but
arena
it's
events.
closed a lot.
Well, not that many times. I mean, so even if it's closed once a week and usually on the weekend,
Yeah.
you know,
So it's basically to mitigate it. So if they're doing it 7 days a week and one night of the week it's closed for an evening event, then, you know, maybe they're not stopping as frequently. Is that kind of the thought?
yeah, I mean, because it's open, you know, 80% of the time, right?
So, yeah. Pretty good.
But we were only thinking that two parking
Yeah.
spaces would be all this required when we looked at it.
We haven't got, I mean, we just talked about
Sure.
it. We haven't gone out and measured or anything.
But conceptually, that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, even if Susquehanna Street's closed for events, if we just make sure that the barricades are further in, they can just pull right in.
Yeah, I was,
Because they're only there for 5-10
right, and you
minutes.
can fit, every time it's closed, you can fit a car through it. I just didn't know if you could fit a big bus through it.
Well, what you know what I'm saying, they could
And then
just
they close
pull,
it in the front too?
if Susquehanna Street's closed,
Right, but they close it in the front.
No, they
right,
don't.
don't even go around the block. On the days that the
Yeah,
street's
they have
closed,
barricades.
just pull right over,
They can just
out
pull the
of the
barricade and
way.
then pull back out.
Yeah.
You don't have to go around the building, they can just
I mean, if explained to
barricade it over.
The other option would be, instead of pulling down Stewart Street and going around the block that way, just go up to Holly Street and go around the block that way, and then, you know, you'd be facing.
Park on Stewart,
And park on Stewart and let
that's not a
them out
bad idea either.
westbound. The other
One of
day,
those, and then that's always open.
that's always open, yeah.
Yeah,
And the other thing is that last week, two incidents, we were down there with, my wife and I were driving through there. The one time, the bus was discharging the students. The students are crossing wherever they want, jaywalking and just walking out, treating it like it was one of the yellow buses where, you know, they got
Right.
flashing lights and think that they have control of the road. And so my wife had to stop in traffic to let the students go cross in mid-block wherever they wanted, and they just kept coming out. The second time was the bus, when we're coming from the arena, the bus, the tail end of it was sticking out, and my wife couldn't see around the bus, so she had to actually kind of pull out to look, keep creeping ahead just to try to get out to a point where she could finally see, and we're all almost to the other side of the intersection.
I mean, that may be the answer,
Yeah.
go right around,
Yeah,
So
I
use
mean,
Holly
Holly
Street
Street.
to,
I can send you, I'll send you the name of the one who
Sure.
just contacted me. I don't have like a preconceived idea of what the answer is. It just, it seems like we should come up with something
Yeah.
that everybody can agree on, because it is dangerous
Yeah.
what they're doing now.
I think that that's a good idea. Maybe we can just work on putting something together, hear their directions, you know, if the street's open, go around the block, and you can park there as long as you want.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you her contact.
Sure, we'll get that and we'll send a response
so
to,
they're basically parking facing the west on Stewart Street.
that's right, which is, it's always open, yeah. Okay. The Clinton Street and Crandall Street crosswalk, this was the individual who came at the last meeting, advocating for a friend of his who's blind. I think we sort of understood at that meeting that it was not feasible or possible in the area that they wanted. I don't know if there's any additional information that needs to be gathered
Real
for a
quick.
safety standpoint.
Yeah, real quick, we did revisit that location, Cindy, myself, and, the traffic division. And the two suggestions, actually 3 suggestions we had, is one, there's a school crossing sign up in front of the church there. They delete that completely, but that's no longer needed, there's no school there. The second, the sign for the crossing is obstructed by a tree there. We can actually move that from one side of the driveway going into the business there at the corner of Crandall and Clinton Street there to the other side. And just before the crosswalk, so it would be visible all the time because there's no trees obstructing it. And then to make that a zebra crosswalk instead of a parallel crosswalk.
The high visibility sign maybe.
Okay. So we'll do is get that information, we'll get it to Bernice, and we'll have the sign division do that. All right, and then we'll mark that out as completed. Okay, Leroy and Laurel, 4-way stop. I haven't heard a peep from anyone about it, so.
Okay, actually, our study goes one more month.
Yeah.
So,
at this time. That's what I wanted to find out, is when it ends.
Yeah, we started the count back January 3rd, and,
Have you heard anything?
but since that time, it seems to be, there no incidents at all.
Yeah, and the stop, I noticed that the stop sign was moved to be in front of the utility pole, so it wasn't behind it, so they must have done that. So that's good. Yeah, I haven't heard a thing, and the folks that I've talked to have been positive about it. So we'll wait until the March meeting and make it permanent. And then Ray or Bernice, how do we go about actually just removing those?
You just remove the study signs and then it's permanent.
But with the actual signal itself?
They'll take it.
They'll take, okay. We have to hire that out, or our
No,
guys can
our guys
do
do that.
that? And I was asked about those poles that were supporting it. Are those original in any way, or antique, or do they have any value to the past, or? No one, probably not. I've had weird questions.
I'm sure if they wanted it, they could get it.
Yeah, okay. All right, Market Street, I haven't received any more information from the town of Dickinson
Yeah, neither at
on
this
their
time.
plan.
Yeah, so I don't know if they even presented it yet.
All right. We'll keep that on the agenda for now, but we'll follow up with Mike Marinaccio. I'm glad we pumped the brakes on that when we did. State and Henry Street, I noticed that the signal has been bagged, and it seems to be, although the geometry of it is new, it seems to be working fine with the left turn lane and everything.
Yeah, the only thing is, it should have another signal head over top of that lane, even if it's just green. You had said at the last meeting that they can't just replace the arrow with a solid green.
I think that's what Dan told me.
We put in, yeah, and where a spare signal head to put up there that would, okay?
I'm not sure if we have a spare signal head.
Okay.
I can, we have.
Okay, just because
You are in
it-
Laurel, you have one, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, according to.
One shot.
Actually, that one was
Yeah,
by the
yeah.
4 stop signs out.
Yeah.
You should have one on Federal Aid Road over top of, in front of every lane.
Yeah.
And so it's missing, and you don't have a project out there until sometime in the future with that signal, if you get those projects, so it's a ways away.
We haven't heard about Henry Street, right? That's still.
Now that's still,
No,
Been
I
announced.
keep getting told that it's pending,
yeah,
Okay.
it hasn't been announced yet,
Okay.
it's pending.
I know. And then you have it in as the other project too, if you don't get it.
Right.
So
I
either
have
way,
it as a-
it's out
right,
there.
It's out there.
Okay.
I
few
have it as
years.
a TAP project, and I'm waiting to hear. But in case we didn't get the TAP, I put it into the TIP project also.
So,
So,
but either
one way
way,
or
it's out
another.
there
Yeah.
in future ways
Yes.
before it would actually happen, so if we could
Yeah,
find a signal head up there, I don't know,
it is a little strange
it is.
when you pull up, but, okay. We can talk about that. The crosswalk on Court Street, I just wanted to, I don't know if I put this on, but just to make sure everyone was aware of what DOT sent around. They are installing a crosswalk just east of the Court Street Bridge.
Yes.
And they're doing it, so.
Yeah.
And I sent you the backup
Yes.
information too, in case
Yes.
somebody cared, it laid it out too.
Mhm. And they're also doing 2 mid-block crossings on
Correct.
Main Street.
Yeah.
One at the high school, one at McDonald's.
Yep, and it's fully done, being done in conjunction with our larger Main Street project, and we'll,
Yes. They have been, the DOT design firm has been in contact with Judas Harper, and so it will match everything that we do.
Will it be at the same time, or will the states go first? Or does it know?
I believe the states will go first.
Okay, I just want to reemphasize, at the Broome County Traffic Safety Board meeting, what's the fellow's name that was there from the state?
Tony Signorelli.
Okay, I just brought it up at the meeting again, if you would look at it one more time. Traffic still has a concern with it being on a grade and the congestion in that area. And I don't know if you looked at it yet or not, but.
Well, yeah, that was the response I
That's
sent
the
you was a
response. They are
response to
They are
that.
making adjustments to the striping, how the lanes are laid out. And they've moved it towards the bridge further to give more lane room for the turn.
Okay, and Broome Transit is going to be affected, because that's where they have their student pickup, the pedestrian pickup there, right? We also worked in the same concept.
as long as, if we identify our questions and DOT is now responding to them, I mean, that covers the city's side of things.
That's
And okay. I mean, that item's complete, just kind of as an FYI, because I know that was talked about in the past. Under new business, why don't we go to Morgan, Park, and Bayless? I think, Ray, if you just want to overview that you applied for some type of a project for this, and I'm going to fire up the 222 water stream on the computer while you're doing that.
I have a project on TIP, and I just got the information this morning. I haven't gone through it to see what
I haven't
it's on
gone
the
through it
list.
either because I wasn't in yesterday.
But it's on the list to redo Park Avenue from this intersection to the city line. So, under that, intersection will be addressed, and whatever we can do to make it better, we'll be doing. So, it is in the works. It's just like a year away or more.
More, that'll depend on how the funding works.
I haven't seen how it got, where it got put yet, but yes. And as a sidebar to that, the intersection of Park Avenue and Vestal Avenue is also a project on the tip to do that first, from there to the signal at Morris, is to redo Park in that area too. So both of those are on the tip, the new tip for federal funding to address those 2 issues on Park Avenue.
Okay. And then the damage to the guide rail when the car went in the creek.
I have money in the capital project for this year to do, we're supposed to replace that
Mhm.
this year.
Okay.
They can replace it. It may get moved or replaced
Sure.
with something else under this project, but it would be there temporarily until this gets done.
Okay, you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay, and then we visited up there, myself and the traffic division went up there and reviewed the area. And there's 6 accidents at that location. 2 of them involved animals crossing the road. One was a deer head and the other was a dog crossing the roadway. The other line of sight incident where a car was coming down Bayless Ave, and 3 of them were cars coming down the hill from Park Ave northbound, probably at a speed greater than should have been coming. But anyhow, our recommendations that we came up with is there's a sharp curve sign ahead with a 20-mile suggested speed on it, and it sits behind a wooden pole. We suggest that that sign be moved to the other side of the pole there.
Sure.
And yeah, the bushes in front of it, you know, every year to be cut back.
Yep.
There should be chevrons posted on the curve as you're coming down just between Park Terrace Ave and the Ross Park Old Zoo entrance there.
Right now, there's one chevron on a post. So, I don't know if there was ever more there or not, but there's one.
I couldn't
Kinda
tell you.
weird. I know, we went out there, I didn't even know it was there, but.
Unless there's a clam bake, I'm not coming out
Yeah.
And the last thing is that we want to increase a couple of the no parking here to corner signs in that area, and we're going to go up there and visit that and see how big they should be. We just didn't have access to measure it that day we were up
When
there.
you come off of Bayless, it's like business is
Yeah.
restricted.
Right.
There's no, parking's a lot right up to the curb there.
Yep. These are all really good things, and I think that, I think in back-to-back days in January, there were accidents. Somebody traveling northbound on Park Ave, of course, you know, the one that got a lot of coverage was the one that went in the creek. So, you know, I'm glad we're taking quick action on this. And like I said, we got the long-term fixes, but also
I had
some of the
that
short-term
in
things.
submitted before any of those.
Oh, yeah. I know that.
These other changes would be easy to just put up some signs.
Exactly.
Until you do what I'm saying.
Dan, do you have a memo?
Yeah,
on
I
that?
have an
We
IDC, I can forward it.
Okay, let's give it to Bernice,
Okay.
and let's try to get those up, you know, sometime very shortly.
And the other thing, at the corner of Bayless and Park Ave, there's a house at the northwest corner between sidewalk and curb line. They got, instead of grass area, they got stones out there, and then they've got some big stones out there. The city property, city right away type thing. And
Are they parking on it?
no, they're not parking on it, but what it is,
Decorative, but-
Oh.
Can't be between the sidewalk and the curb.
but it's a hazardous condition. Now, do we go back and tell the owner that he has to remove that stuff? And
Yeah, he has to remove it.
so, whose office they have to go through?
Probably Greg Buell in code, or Greg Buell in zoning or in code. All right.
I'd start with code.
So this is, the landscaping on the corner is allowed. It's just
Right.
not right here.
Yeah,
right
you can't
out
put it
front.
between the curb and the sidewalk.
Okay.
Okay,
So
behind the
basically,
sidewalk is fine.
so basically the only thing that's allowed there is grass? Or-
Yep.
Okay.
Grass or a tree through parts of the front. But if that's too close to the intersection, you can't have a tree.
Okay. All right, I'll make a note of this.
And I made copies of this before, there's up to you.
Okay, perfect. All right, this last one here, I think we got it, okay. Oh, before we go to the last one, 2 Goethe Street, Dan, is that right? 2 Goethe?
Some people say Goethe. I mean,
Goethe, that's-
it depends on how, yeah.
Bill Skull says Goethe, so, as long as you don't say Beethoven, but, so,
Do you need me on this?
no, well, I just wanted, we'll add it to the agenda for the next traffic
Sure.
board, but, Lauren Puderbaugh, this kid had come up before, he doesn't have a driveway, and he's a handicapped individual, and there is a handicap parking spot across the street. We had in 2017, I think, said, well, we'll just move it from one side of the street to the other. Yet, the folks on the side of the street that it's on right now have a sidewalk. They've kind of developed some infrastructure to use that handicap parking spot. So I don't want to take that away, but this individual does not sort of meets the requirements as far as I see to have a handicap spot out in front of his house. So if DPD could just take a look at it, and I think this should be a pretty easy fix.
Okay, we're public, we're going to go.
Yep, and here's the information that Dan got.
Yeah, that was missing from the last go around when this came up. Because you guys didn't have his tag number.
All right, everyone's got a packet from Lost Dog. Essentially, they are had requested 2 pickup only areas, 10-minute or 15-minute spot the storefront, they're going to turn into a to-go restaurant type of thing. So I talked to Marie McKenna, the owner of the Lost Dog. I also talked to Dan Sharp, who owns the garage on the corner. And I sort of explained that, you know, it might be tough to remove those 2 parking spots mid-block, that type of thing. So kind of the concept that I pivoted to was that, you know, not even kind of a block away, we have these 5 spots right here that are not, there's no meter, there's no parking requirements. And that if we made these spots, say a 15-minute zone, it could serve, you know, again, close by to the Lost Dogs pickup, the garage pickup, the shop, which is on Washington Street, and also Burger Mondays. Or anyone visiting, you know, any downtown business. The benefits that I see are that it's currently not marked with anything. We don't have kiosks, so we're not losing any kiosk spots, but we are, we would gain 5, you know, 15-minute zone parking spots. Of course, the question is, 15-minute zones are really tough to enforce. So that was the kind of the conversation I wanted to have is, you know, are they, will it be unenforceable or just difficult to enforce?
I think probably it would probably be more on people complaining that the cars are parked there all day if they're parked there all day.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have to chalk the tires, come back 15 minutes later, half an hour, even an hour later, if the cars still have the tires chalked, then you can tag them because you know they have been removed. But most of those 15-minute type complaints are people calling and complaining, at least in the past when I was in traffic, that it was like that.
So, I mean, is that something that does anyone have any major objections to that? I talked to the Lost Dog owner, and she said, you know, they'll kind of take anything. And Dan Sharp at the garage was positive and supportive of anything. Yeah, those
15-minute pickup.
See, they don't require it because people just pull into their driveway, throw in the flashers, run in, run out, and it's not a problem.
Yeah, but you can still get the nice too, because the other one, you're not gonna percent people who's gonna park there. You can't assign one person to sit there for 15 minutes.
No, but I don't know how these would be enforced either. That's kind of the question, is that they're currently paid to park, and I don't know how really any zone would be enforced. I was just sort of leaning on the other one because we don't have anything right there right now. So my thought is we could post the signs, doesn't cost that much. Try it, and like I said, didn't receive that much objection from the Lost Dog owner.
Yeah, and there seems to be, you know, in front of the Lost Dog Cafe there, the fetch shop is what they're calling it. It seems to be a better idea because the fetch thing is what they want for their own use. People coming to their shop, and it's a city street, you can't give them their own personal pickup zones. Whereas the 15-minute zones are public use, so anybody can use them. So I think this 15-minute zone is...
Like I said, you know, in this area, it's at least near other businesses. You know, even if someone needed to pick up tickets in the forum, they could park there and they're half a block away. So basically, I need to entertain a motion for installation of a 15-minute parking zone on the south side of Henry Street between State and Washington. Motion. Would that be correct? Ray makes the motion. Bill seconds. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Does anyone have anything else?
Yes, one more thing real quick. I thought this was resolved, but it's North and Murray Street, the flashing traffic light there. It's a three-way stop intersection. I'm sorry, two-way stop intersection. Murray Street's north and southbound. Murray Street's northbound is one way, and the south is the, I'm sorry.
Southbound's two-way.
Southbound is, south side of the intersection is one way, and north side of the intersection is two-way.
Okay.
But you know, there's a flashing light hanging at that intersection.
All right.
And the signage in that area for with the stop signs meets all the requirements. It's really not necessary to have that sign hanging at that intersection. And we just make a recommendation that the traffic light, flashing lights are be removed.
I think we talked about this before.
But I thought it passed, but I haven't had a chance to. I don't know if we ever voted on it or if we just.
Well, I thought that the discussion was at the time was that North Street, for whatever reason, seems to be a high-speed street, and that any extra kind of caution sign, we don't have to, it's not like we're putting one in, but that if it's already there and if it's not malfunctioning, that we kind of leave it until it comes to a point that we do have to take it down. It is, you know, it's not costing us much to have it up. I just didn't know if there was other than maybe not being technically needed, if there's another reason to take it down.
Yeah, there's, we pulled the accident reports, and really there's, of all the accidents at that intersection, only 2 were traffic related, as far as the, you know, cars being hit in the intersection, T-bone intersection accidents. The rest were like cars being sideswiped or something, you know, hit and run type things, of parked vehicles. But and there's like 6 of those. So, I mean, it's
I
just.
had brought it up before, I think it was like the same time with the one out at West End and Riverside. There had been just a holdover that had been up there for the longest time, and this one was the same way. So, I mean, no, it's not hurting anything. It's just.
Okay. All right. I mean, I would tend to just say, specifically on North Street, because I think it just got paved a couple years ago, or maybe last year. People seem to be using it as a little speedway.
That's what happened.
Did a good job. But, does anyone have any strong feelings on that? Like I said, one way or another. Anything else? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?